Hello, and welcome to the fifth quarterly review hour. This week is Get to Know the Review Hour.
Now, our first question is not actually a question, and it comes from Paul E. from Saskatoon. He states, John Wick review. Paul, that is not a question.
Our first question comes from John C. from Saskatoon, and he asks, can you tell me about how you met and came up with the idea for the show? Yes, I can, John. We met about 8 years ago on a website called mysteriouspackage.com. It was there that we both discovered that we enjoy packaging. And coincidentally, a couple of years later, we ended up at the same school in the same year. And it wasn't until term 2 that we saw each other reviewing packages in the lounge.
Our next question comes from Jim E. from Saskatoon, and he wonders, could we get a scientific explanation of how Dom is so good at sporting? Well, Jim, I think you're making a common mistake, which is assuming you need to be athletic to be good at sporting, when in fact, the point of sporting is to win. And so in order to be good at sporting, you need to be a winner, which is what I am.
Our next question comes from Kaylee L. from Saskatoon. She asked, what does it mean to be set off? And is this a valid legal defense? Well, Kaylee, imagine that all you have going for you is your wife, and then your wife dies. And then your dead wife buys you a dog, and someone comes along and kills that dog. You would be set off. Now, this is actually a valid legal defense according to Saskatchewan Small Claims Act, Section 32, Sub 3.
Our next question comes from the body from Saskatoon. He asks, how do I get out of the loop? And once you're in, is it possible to get out? Well, body, the only way to get out of the loop is to get into another loop. So I'm really close to looping by talking about the loop. So I'll get out of the loop by going back to my previous loop of talking about questions. So I'll answer your next question. Once you're in, is it impossible to get out? No, it's not.
Laura E. from Saskatoon asked, who exactly are the boys that everyone is always doing things for? Well, Laura, nobody's actually doing things for the boys, but people are doing things for the boys. Now, for example, imagine a boy is hurt, and I drive that boy to the hospital. I will be doing something for the boys. Now, imagine if a boy was hurt again, but instead of driving to the hospital, I take that boy to a party. Then I would be doing something for the boys.
Our next question comes from Michelle A. from Saskatoon. She asks, how can I get a body like the body? Well, Michelle, unfortunately you can't. While every body has a body, no body is the body except for the body.
Our next question comes from Aaron F. from Saskatoon. He asks, exactly how many beers does it take for Dom to be blacked out? Well, Aaron, that's a great question. There are a couple factors that you need to account for. 1. Has he been drinking that day? 2. Has he donated blood that day? 3. Does he need to skip rope? 4. How much money does Dom have? Now, if we take all 4 factors and plug it into the calculator, we get a range of 1 beer to 5.73 liters of beer.
Our next non-question comes once again from Paul E. from Saskatoon. He posts, Michelle A., here's the answer, and then a link to Usain Bolt's training secrets. Once again, Paul, not a question.
Our next question comes from the body. He asks, Paul, stop giving away my secrets? That's a great question, body, and I think the answer to that is Paul should stop giving away your secrets.
Next question comes from Brandon T. from Saskatoon. He asks, could we have some sort of wrestling theme review hour? Well, yeah, actually, I think we can because WWE has a lot of merchandise with a lot of great packaging, so I think that would be a great idea for a review hour. He then asks, maybe we could try out different moves on each other to see what is most effective. Well, unfortunately, we can't because wrestling moves themselves don't actually have packaging, so we can't review that. Then he finally asks, does Dom weigh enough to body slam through a table? Well, a body slam is a move where one body grabs another body and both bodies go through a table. So it's really not how much my body weighs, but how the combined body weight is. So the answer is maybe.
Our next question comes from Craig M. from Saskatoon. He asked, somebody needs to be not thrown through a window? Great question, Craig. And I think the answer is a body needs to not be thrown through a window.
Our next question comes from Dennis A. from Saskatoon. He asks, why does Ryan N. only own 8 pairs of jean shorts? Well, the reason he owns 8 is you need one for every day of the week, plus one backup, just in case there's some sort of accident or cut or rip or anything like that. But why doesn't he own more? Well, first of all, he doesn't do laundry very often. Second of all, he needs a lot of space in his apartment for things like pizza boxes and KFC buckets.
Next question comes from Matt G. from Saskatoon. He asked, who wore the green Law Games jacket best? Well, Matt, I wasn't at Law Games, so I don't know, but I'm sure the answer was the body.
Mandeep M from Saskatoon asks, what is the play? This is a very difficult question to answer, but I'll try. The thing about the play is it's kind of like the body. Everybody has a body just like everyone can make a play, but you don't know what the play is until you've made the play, unlike the body, which we know what the body is at all times. So maybe an example to help you out is imagine have your eyes closed and you're crossing an 8-lane highway. Now, you're going to be making plays as you're crossing the road, but you'll never know until you made the play, until you've crossed the road and you look across with your eyes open and you saw your body made the play.
Andrew D from Saskatoon asked, who really is the best foosball goalie in all of law? Not BK.
Andrew SB from Saskatoon asks, what is the best technique for exterminating snails? Well, Andrew, I don't know how to get rid of them necessarily, but I know a few things that they enjoy, so I think if you avoid these behaviors, they won't come as often. 1, they really like Mandarin YouTube channels.
Ni hao.
They really like loud food, such as chips. They like just generally smelling bad, not knowing the foosball rules, and worst of all, studying a week before our exams so you don't have a chance to even have a seat in the law library.
And finally, question from Amjad M from Budapest. He asked, why does the club always seem to go up on a Tuesday? Well, Amjad, I think what you're forgetting about are time zones. See, with time zones, it's always Tuesday somewhere in the world.
Now, thank you for all your questions, and we'll see you at the next quarter of the review hour. Please follow this link to follow us on Instagram and donate to this link so that I always have enough money for 5.73 liters of beer.